great point in this conversation to actually bring up clinical therapy. Okay, I think that every single person listening to this podcast has gone through mental health issues, especially if they're self-improvement oriented. Perhaps the need for self-improvement comes from a place of darkness on some level, according to me. Now, you're a neurologist.
Yeah.
I'd also say that you're a neuroscientist. And your craft deals with the hardware of the brain. Clinical therapists, psychologists deal with the software of the brain. I think this whole realm of clinical therapy, psychotherapy, lots of people discover it in their mid to late 20s because that's when they can begin to afford paying for therapy.
Yeah.
Therapy is expensive. I'm seeing this with a lot of my friends, men, women around me, are getting to know a lot of what they call their shadow sides, basically their own inner darkness. They're realizing a lot about the messed up things that happened in their childhood. They're coming to the forefront at around age 30. And all these guys want to face those realities, accept it, come to a conclusion, and then use it for further growth. Do you want to talk about clinical therapy and its role in human life? Like, where does this whole quote about everyone needs therapy, where does that come from?
Coming to therapy. Here's my one-line explanation of what therapy is. You are born with all the resources that you need to deal with all of your own emotions. Your brain already has all the necessary tools. Just like your body already has all the necessary tools to find food, digest food, get the energy, your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, they're all working together to keep you alive. You don't need anybody from the outside to give you something. You are born as a fully functional unit. Similarly, in the brain, all the emotions that you have, everything that you go through in life, your prefrontal cortex has the capacity to deal with all of those things. Now, there are two issues here. One, your prefrontal cortex does not mature fully till around 25 years of age, which means that in the first 25 years, your prefrontal cortex is still maturing. So every year, it is a little bit more mature than the previous year. We have a rough cutoff at 18, and we say that beyond 18, you are an adult. That means that hypothetically, we are saying beyond 18, you are now capable of taking mature adult decisions. In other words, we are saying that your prefrontal cortex can now be trusted, which is why we say that now you can drive, because driving requires a lot of decision making, and I can trust you now. Basically, we are saying I trust your pre-FC, nothing else. What happens if you face some problem before your prefrontal cortex is mature enough? What if you go through some emotional turmoil before your PFC is mature enough to handle it? That is where problems can happen. Clear? Now, if there is an issue, say at the age of 12, 13, your brain has that weight now of an unresolved problem. Now, even later on, once your PFC matures, you are still behaving because of those old patterns. But now your prefrontal cortex is mature. Now, theoretically, your PFC can now look back at that old problem, take it, solve it, fix yourself, and move forward. But this takes effort. And very often, we don't really do it. We will just keep moving on, thinking ki, हाँ, ये सब पुरानी बात है, this is all in my past, why keep bringing it up, let me forget it, we suppress it. But those suppressed thoughts still lead to issues. And those issues keep on accumulating, and that is when we have behavioral problems, and depending on how intense it gets. When you go to therapy, you are basically outsourcing your own prefrontal cortex ka job to somebody else.
Wow.
So if I'm sitting here and you are my therapist, I am saying that, listen, for this time, my prefrontal cortex is unable to handle all the things that my limbic system is doing. It is, for whatever reason, it cannot function as it should. Can I give my prefrontal cortex some rest and borrow your prefrontal cortex? And why don't you take all my emotions, process it, and give it to me? Or why don't you guide me, depending on how weak my PFC is? If you think that I just need some support, why don't you guide my PFC to help myself?
And this is the art of clinical psychotherapy.
Correct. In a way, this is also what friends do, but in a much more informal way.
Hey, I need a bouncing board, bro.
Correct. That, listen, आज बहुत बुरा दिन है, क्या करना है बता दे. And you talk to a friend and you calm down after half an hour. We have all noticed it, that when your friend is going through a relationship problem, you are the wisest person. कि क्या इसके साथ क्या कर रहा है भाई, तू सोच नहीं रहा है, don't you realize what is going on? No. When it's happening to you, you are a mess. You will make worse mistakes because when it's happening to you, your PFC is not working. At that time, your friend will come and advise you. So earlier, this used to be a conflict for me, that how can I be so smart when it comes to other people and stupid when it comes to my own life? Now you realize that this is why when it comes to yourself, your prefrontal cortex does not work in the same way unless you train it. That is where therapy helps, because therapy shows you what does it mean to have a functioning PFC.
Wow.
What does it mean to recognize your emotion? What does it mean to regulate your emotion? Nobody teaches us this. When have we ever been taught that, Ranveer, you will feel anger, this is what anger will do, and this is how you should regulate your anger? Did anyone ever sit you down and explain like this? Emotional regulation is not part of our culture. We don't teach this. How do we do this? अरे छोड़ ना, सबका अपना अपना हो जाएगा. Karma will take care of it. We try to jump ahead and we try to reach acceptance very quickly, because we feel that calmness and acceptance is the ideal way of life. And it is ideal, but you have to reach there organically. You can't just fast forward to acceptance. So if something shitty has happened to you, it's important to go through those emotions and you reach acceptance. That is what the prefrontal cortex's job is.